I think about Valentine's Day, I often think about all the happy relationships in fiction because my life is sad and pathetic. And as I pull myself out of the crippling loneliness, well, the best thing to do that is to think about all the great ships out there that I absolutely hate. And maybe hate's a strong word, maybe strongly dislike, perturbed, bothered by. But at the end of the day, this is all just to help me pull myself out of my, again, crippling loneliness because, oh my god, I'm lonely. But anyway, let's just sort of clear the rules here, or at least a bit more information. So, shipping is a term we use for all of those fun, potential, and actual couples and relationships that we find ourselves rooting for in our favorite medias. Whether it's something simple like Jane and Tarzan, from Tarzan, obviously, or something a bit more obscure like, say, George O'Malley and Addison Montgomery from Grey's Anatomy, Rumpelstiltskin and Regina, Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, because that is the sane choice. What is wrong with you people? And maybe it was something a bit more obscure and weird, like, say, Milo Thatch and Jane Porter crossing over Atlantis Lost Empire and Tarzan because they look adorable together. And you'll find at least one pairing in your life that you've enjoyed or hated, and truth be told, your ship is only as valid, ultimately, as the argument you can make in favor of it. And by default, the opposite would be applied as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about my least favorite ships because I'm nothing but negative on Valentine's Day. And we'll keep this down. We'll keep this to only stuff within its own universe. No crossovers because, oh my god, we'll be here forever. Number 1, Arnold and Helga from Hey Arnold. So, if you watched Hey Arnold, then you know about the horribly, horribly unhealthy and not so subtle, who could not hear her monologuing relationship, which is Helga and Arnold. So, the entirety of the series, Helga spends a lot of time, unhealthily obsessing over Arnold. And for the longest time, it kind of, in my opinion, it was weird, it was gross. And this definitely didn't work early in the series when everyone just sort of is who they are, especially Helga. But we later found out exactly why Helga likes Arnold so much. There was a great episode, Helga on the Couch. It's still one of the best episodes of the series even today, which really does make you feel for Helga as a character. And as her temporary nanny once said, she's such an angry person and she won't let anyone help her. And here she is falling for someone who was pretty much the only person who ever helped her. So if you say it like that, sure, Arnold and Helga work. The problem is, though, the series itself has even shown that Helga's negativity does leave an impact on Arnold. Namely in the episode when they had to be parents over an egg. And even though Arnold flat out tells her, you're the last person I want to do this project with, Helga, who, let's be honest here, she by default would never have taken that positively, she then goes with the idea that it is Arnold's fault because he's been totally negative the whole time. And that would be true, but Arnold brings up a good point. Most of the time, you're just mean to me. And it's great. Arnold has called Helga out on her behavior. And this will never mean anything. What happens is, over the course of the series, we see a lot of moments when Arnold does appreciate Helga when she does something nice, when she decides to not be terrible. You could argue that a lot of her negative qualities are really just shields to keep people from getting in. As her nanny said, you won't let anyone help you. And maybe this would be fine, but her obsession with Arnold is the right word, obsession, and is unhealthy. Whether it be the poetry, the books and books of poetry, at one point cutting off some of his hair for her journal, making a statue out of him of his used gum, stealing his hat, well, technically just finding his hat, not giving it back till the end of the episode. Or we can talk about the movie for a second. The movie, oh my god, the movie where it turns out that Helga's been spying on Arnold 24/7 with cameras. Let's think about that for a moment. And the series wants us, well, at least the movie and the series, to be fair, wants us to think this is all totally fine and just ha ha fun. Now, there's a great argument for Helga and Arnold. I would use the episode where Arnold has a dream and Helga, or Hilda as she is a bit more of an interesting, a bit more laid-back character. And I've argued that episode is how Arnold really sort of sees his friends in ways that maybe he might even want to acknowledge. Overall doesn't mean anything in terms of the greater scheme, in my opinion. What this means is this is a ship that is totally one-sided in universe, all right? Arnold has never shown any real interest in Helga. He's been more interested in characters like Ruth, Lila, that dumb broad at the sandcastle contest, which actually I think helped Helga stand out a bit more for Arnold, but overall, nothing of real merit. And this is the problem. Also, this relationship was played up for laughs. It has to be played up for laughs. Hence the line, Arnold, you make my girlhood tremble. Let's think about that. She's 9. Alright? The things we got away with in the 90s to early 2000s. Next up, Matt and Sora. So, I like Digimon. Some days I like it better than Pokemon. But I've also made the argument that it's only some of Digimon that's better than all of Pokemon. All of Digimon is not better than all of Pokemon. So there'll be an argument for that in the comment section for the people that do make this discussion of Digimon versus Pokemon. But if there's one thing that Pokemon does better than Digimon is its relationships. Because not only has Ash Ketchum been whored out to everything in the fan community, literally everything in the fan community, whether it be his mom, Professor Oak, his rival, his Pokemon he's never met, and people from the past. Anyway, Digimon made the really gut-wrenching decision of not only being entirely repetitive with its characters, but also decided to pair Matt and Sora together when everyone knew the right, sane choice was Tai and Sora. I'm not gonna lie, this is just personal. There's no other argument I'm going to give other than Matt and Sora look horribly unhealthy because Sora's a very positive person and Matt is the most depressing person in the entire season. That's it. I mean, until Ken shows up in season 2, you won't meet anyone more depressed. And Matt's problem is, he looks like he's got some anger issues. He does. Like, season 1 is sort of like series Naruto, is like the Naruto first part, when you can all sum it up with, you need to calm down, Sasuke. You can tell Matt he needs to chill. He needs to chill, because anytime TK, like, goes missing for 5 seconds, Matt just starts yelling at people. And then he fights Tai. And take a shot each time TK goes missing and it upsets Matt, or Matt and Tai fight. You might die. You just might. Anyway, my real reason is Tai and Sora work out a lot better. This is even ignoring translation issues, which implies something else in Season 2, but also the Digimon movie, where it's kind of clear, unless it was a translation issue, which I found no evidence that it was, Tai and Sora do like each other. Next up, we'll go with something a bit more recent, because I need to look like I do more stuff that's not just from 10 to 15 years ago. Rey and Kylo Ren, Star Wars. So, Rey and Kylo Ren don't work. They just don't, because their entire relationship is horribly unhealthy. First movie, he tortures her, and then he kills the closest thing she ever had to a father until Last Jedi. And then, second movie, they have a horrible force bond together, where they pretty much spend a lot of time just being angry at each other, Rey seeing him without his shirt on, and then him calling her nothing later on. And then the third one, they're just like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah. You need to join me, Rey. Well, you need to join me, Ben." I'm like, oh my god, this is unhealthy. And then, at the end of the movie, they kiss, he dies, and if you wanted to build a relationship on this, and we can argue that the Star Wars sequel trilogy is flawed because its second movie was so off script from what J.J. Abrams tried to do in the first one, and what he had to prepare in the third one, which to me just said he should have directed all 3 movies. We could say that, and still, it'll probably not work, but whatever. The issue is with Reylo, as it's called, is that the fan response to Reylo, or Kylo Ren dying at the end as Ben Solo, so redemption, is the fan response, which was pretty much death threats being sent to J.J. Abrams. So let's be clear here, there is many a ship that has happened that I don't like. Alright, that's why this video is being made. And we could spend some time on Harry Potter and those ships. We're not going to do that because more people razz on J.K. Rowling now for her just being J.K. Rowling. Legitimately, she's not been a different person than she's been since she started writing the first book. Let's be clear. But I would never send anyone a death threat for any reason, let alone because, oh, they didn't pick the ship I wanted. For J.K. Rowling, I called it lazy, uninteresting writing, and I think we could probably have a discussion about that later on. With Rey and Kylo Ren, I just see it as a horrible mistake of this horribly done trilogy. And even then, how pathetic are you that some people have PTSD from Rey and Kylo Ren not getting together? I'm like, what? This wasn't even that well written. I can see people getting PTSD if it had to happen. If it had to happen. From, like, the death of Leia, okay? If it was done well. Or, like, the death of Padme, because that was stupid and emotional. But no. This? Where was Ben Solo going to go after this? To Tatooine? And she'd be Rey Solo? No one wants Rey Solo. People want Rey Palpatine to be Rey Skywalker because they wanted her to be Rey Skywalker because it made the most sense and would have been the more interesting story. Anyway, moving on to something that doesn't entirely upset me but also confuses me to no end. Batman and Talia. Batman. So, if you've been into Batman for any period of time, you'll know Talia al Ghul, who, for me, I was first introduced to her in the Batman animated series, where it's just mentioned, hey, Bruce and Talia had a thing. We don't quite know what that thing is, and the comic book series has been pretty lenient on it for the most part. We just know that they sort of like each other. We don't quite know why. Even in the Batman animated series and behind the scenes, they talk about the villains and Ra's al Ghul. And they just sort of say, like, Talia's really beautiful. And Talia's hot. Let's be clear, she is. She's great physically. She's also a terrible person. Just terrible. Alright? Even if you don't acknowledge the retcon, which is that, as far as I can tell, Talia drugged Bruce into having sex with her, which led to Damian. Even if you ignore that, I've never for a moment seen anything these two have in common. This is why things like Batman and Catwoman work, Batman and Wonder Woman work, my secret OTP, Batman and Power Girl, because I saw a thing in the JSA comic, I think it was the JSA comic, when Karen's really happy to see Bruce back. I'm like, you know what? I ship it now. Also, the JL8 comic. If you haven't read JL8, you're doing yourself a disservice. Read that comic. It's great. If you won't ship Batman and Power Girl for that one, you'll never ship it anywhere else. But overall, Bruce and Talia just don't work. At no point in the series I've ever felt like, yeah, they've got this one thing in common. They don't have anything in common. The best thing I ever saw from Bruce and Talia's relationship was in the original Hush comic when Selina and Talia have to talk. And it's pretty awkward. It's the ex and the new girlfriend meeting up, and they're both terrible people. They both are. Maybe Bruce is just attracted to terrible people. Maybe. I don't know. Speaking of terrible people, Superman and Wonder Woman, New 52, and Kingdom Come. And some of Trinity. Yeah, so Superman and Wonder Woman is always what I call the low-hanging fruit of comic book couples, and that doesn't make it bad. You know, there's no point to reinvent the wheel if something works. The problem is Superman and Wonder Woman have never worked in my mind, because what do they really have in common? Hey, you fight bad guys, I fight bad guys. You've got superpowers, I've got superpowers. You know, that's sort of it. Some people made the argument that, well, you know, Clark and Lois, they have different biology. Well, so does Superman and Wonder Woman. She's made from clay originally. Now she's the daughter of Zeus. So, you know, biology's different either way. The only argument you're ever going to make is that the fact that, well, she can take the full pounding from Superman. That's legitimately it. They're two diametrically opposed, and anytime there's an idea that those two should be a couple, it's usually with the idea that Wonder Woman is so intimidated, or like so enthralled by the power Superman radiates, that she just can't say anything. Like, usually they argue, like, oh my god, we're gonna kiss. That's sort of it. It's lame, it's stupid, it's lazy, and it was just mean in New 52. I'm not even saying them two being together was toxic, but how it happened was just terrible, and it did Steve Trevor's character a gross disservice. It did. The fact that the world knows that Steve did confess his feelings to Wonder Woman, and she turned him down. Then something happens to Steve. Wonder Woman personally fires Steve as the Justice League liaison. Then not 5 minutes later, she's seen making out with Superman. Guess who's a joke to the entire world? Steve Trevor. If he turned out to be the real villain of the DC universe, I'd have been like, you know what? I ain't mad at him. I don't agree with him, but I ain't mad at him. That's it. Would have been a great idea. Thankfully, though, around the end of New 52, Jeff Johns decided to not continue with this, because I'm guessing nothing sold from that as well as they thought it would, and broke them up. Also, worst case scenario, and I think this is more true, Jeff Johns did it for a story point for a book that didn't even last past its event. I'm hoping that's the case, because I hate Trinity War, because there were a lot of books that just existed just to tell that story. But that's a rant for another time. Actually, I think I did that on the Books I Regret Reading video. And that's sort of it. With Superman and Wonder Woman, it just doesn't work, and they're sort of worse people because of it. And there is a couple where they're worse people because of it. Korra and Mako from Legend of Korra. So I have a lot of issues with Legend of Korra. I feel that the best episode, the first Avatar, is actually the worst episode because it fails to do what it's supposed to do. Who is Korra? Korra reveals she's the Avatar. We, the audience, knew she was Korra. We knew she was the Avatar. What does Korra have to learn? She's the Avatar. There's nothing about Korra that makes her special in her past. All that matters is she's the Avatar. Korra and Mako, as a couple, doesn't do anything for Korra's character for the most part. Just makes her come off as insufferable. So in season 1, when Korra and Mako first meet, Korra's kind of like, yeah, she likes Mako. She likes Mako. But Korra's also a bit of a thought here, because she knows Mako is dating Asami. All right, and she's like, "Well, you're dating Asami, you want to date me?" And like, it's horrible because she's also going on a date with Bolin. Maybe she didn't think it was a date, but I'll tell you right now, if you weren't a Bolin and Korra shipper, or a Bora shipper at the end of that episode, or like halfway through that date, I don't know what's wrong with you. And this is totally ignoring the future that was Korra's love life. But anyway. So then she kisses Mako. Bolin's upset. Even weirder before this, Mako's like, I don't know, Bolin. It's like, I know I'm dating Asami, but I think I should be with Korra. And then Bolin's like, well, I was thinking about me and Korra. And Mako's like, you shouldn't date within the team, Bolin. I'm like, wait, you're thinking of dating in the team. No one comes out good in the Korra-Mako relationship, because even afterwards, Asami has to sort of pull teeth out of Mako to admit that he likes Korra. And I thought, Sam was going to be the bad guy, because they're like, you know what? That would have been interesting. That would have forced these three characters to admit they've made horrible decisions, been horrible people. But no, we didn't. And now here we are going into season 2 with Korra and Mako as a couple for all of, check my watch, 5 minutes. What happens in this 5 minutes? Well, Mako has to finally get some common sense and realize, hey, Korra, you should not be going behind the president's back and mobilizing his army without his consent. That's a crime, Korra. Korra's not feeling it because, she just wants to threaten everybody, like when she threatened to kill the judge. So she breaks up with Mako, or at least storms out with Mako. Later on, Mako and Asami doing some investigations. They start making out. They're like, hey, maybe we should get back together. Korra has like, hey, we should get back together. Mako's like, yeah, that's not happening. And they sort of agree to be friends, whatever going on. Nothing happens in season 3. Season 3 was actually really good, though. So points of that. It seems out when it's good, we don't have to rely on a horrible romantic triangles. Apparently, the group that did Avatar Last Airbender, that did Katara and Aang, could not do a romance right. How? I don't know. Anyway, then we go on to season 4. Mako and Asami have broken up off screen. Thank heavens. But weird thing about the end of Legend of Korra, Korra and Asami get together. All I can think of is Mako did something really, really horrible during the relationship to make those two get together. I don't know. To be fair, though, later materials of Legend of Korra, and by later I mean the graphic novels, have at least spent time trying to build their relationship up, Korra and Asami's, and it also made got this really great picture of Mako's face when he found out that Asami and Korra were dating. He's like, oh. But overall, Korra and Mako is one of my definite least favorite ships, because it's just nothing. There's nothing to it. And speaking of relationship with nothing to it, Sango and Moroku from Inuyasha. Now, you may be thinking, what's wrong with Sango and Moroku? What's wrong? Well, the question is, what's wrong with Inuyasha? And this is not to discredit a lot of great stuff from Inuyasha as a series, because I personally do enjoy Inuyasha, especially when it goes deep in the Japanese mythology, which, if I love mythology by default, you give me a great myth, I'm all for it. And with stuff like the Soul Piper, for example, loved it. But there's a problem with Inuyasha, and that's in the character dynamics, namely their relationships. Because if you think about it, Inuyasha's entire group has one thing in common. They really, really hate a guy in a baboon pelt. That's it. That's legitimately it. They're all here for one reason. We hate that guy. That guy's ruined our lives. Let's kill him. And the reason I say it like that is because that's legitimately it. The only time they're ever all together, they talk about 2 things. All right? Sometimes 3, depending on what the arc is about. But it's usually this. We have to find Araku. And Inuyasha, what are you going to admit you have feelings for Kagome? That's legitimately it. And sometimes I pan around with the dynamic for comedic purposes, but I never really get the feeling that I would look at them all as friends. A good example is The Castle Beyond Looking Glass. Now, I know the movie isn't canon, quote unquote, but it really is telling to me that as soon as Naraku's dead, they all just sort of, yes, fine, bye, whatever, let's never see each other again. That's pretty much the feeling I got there. Moroku's certainly happy to see Sango, but I never got the impression that Sango actually likes Moroku. If anything, my secret ship for Inuyasha is Sango and Inuyasha, especially because of the whole, Sango gets drunk thing, and she just sort of like, you know what, Moroku's electric and Kagome whines too much. Inuyasha I can at least, fight with. We have a fun dynamic. There's just nothing there. And the same thing can be said of Inuyasha and Kagome. The problem is, it doesn't really quite feel like there's an arc that they're both benefiting from. A good example of a relationship like this, where I could argue that, yeah, there isn't a lot there, but what I am seeing there is enough to build a foundation on, and that's Kenshin and Kaoru from Rurouni Kenshin, where both of them benefit from the other's presence. I'm not getting that with Sangoku. I barely get it with Inuyasha and Kagome. Granted, the entire series is full of unhealthy relationship decisions, except Kagura and Shishomaru, because not only does that never happen, their interaction is pretty much, hey, could you kill Naraku for me? That's what we're all here to do. No one is not here to kill Naraku, alright? Anyone who's not here to kill Naraku is going to be killed off in like an episode, alright? That's all that matters. All that matters. Even people that like Naraku, that are created from Naraku, are like, we gotta kill Naraku. That's it. So, finally, what is the last ship that I totally dislike? What is the one that just really sticks in my craw, that anytime I mention it, or the series as a whole, it comes back to those? Well, it's simple. The one ship I hate the most, as of right now, because I promise you there'll probably be more, that one ship is every ship in Naruto. Just is. Minus Shikamaru and Tamaru, and even then I could probably make an argument against that. But every ship in Naruto is really, really bad. And why is it really, really bad? Because of the same thing we said all the way back with Arnold and Helga. So Arnold and Helga, I argued, was bad because it's all from Helga's perspective. It all is. Alright, at the end, Helga gets Arnold because she sort of wants Arnold. The movie does do a good job of explaining it. And Naruto is just as bad at this. So let's ignore the fact that I believe Naruto and Sakura are the master ship race for that series. I will admit I was a Naruhito shipper before, but I read a really great article on why Naruto and Sakura work as a couple. I can't find it anymore, but it was really good, tied into the theme of protection, of acknowledgement, all works. The problem is, though, not only did that not happen, all the alternatives were bad. And as I said, every girl got exactly what they wanted, but it didn't feel earned. So long-term relationships have to feel earned in fiction. So you can't just say, like, House and Cuddy get together because House wants Cuddy, Cuddy wants House. No, they're different people. They have their own drives, demands, their own issues, and they each have to work towards that point in one way or another. Whether it be Cuddy eventually coming to terms with the fact that she does love House, House being able to, go through his amazing journey before it's all ruined by Lisa Edelstein leaving the show. You have to feel like there's a journey that you yourself were part of that works most of the time. Naruto does not do that. I've argued that halfway through the series, something happened, and halfway through Shippuden, Kishimoto realized, or someone told Kishimoto, that it has to end a certain way. That was it. Alright, because Naruto and Sakura was the definitive path the series was going on. Then, somewhere along the line, there was a decision to say, no, it has to be Hinata. And, again, I do not mind a Hinata-Naruto relationship if the story goes that way. It has to build up to it. Naruto and Hinata don't. Hinata's entire character is defined by her relationship with Naruto, which is sad because in part 1 it was not. It was defined by her relationship with Neji, her relationship with her family, her desire to improve herself, all of which you could argue does culminate with Naruto. That's fine, but by Shippuden, actually, by the filler arcs onward, and by the filler arcs in part 1 to Shippuden, her entire purpose became about Naruto. Alright? Sasuke and Sakura. Now, I loathe Sasuke and Sakura for the same reason I would say I loathe Kylo Ren and Rey. And even Matt and Sora, okay? And I could make a better argument for those than I could with Sasuke and Sakura. The reason Sasuke and Sakura do not work as a couple, for the same reason that doesn't work with Hinata and Naruto, but even worse, because it's clear that Sakura, even while they've been married for at least 10 years, she just still fail to understand Sasuke's feelings. So Sasuke is not someone who does public displays of affection. It's just not who he is. Maybe it's the trauma of seeing his entire family murdered in front of him, which meant he should not have been put in a military program, but whatever. So when Sakura expects Sasuke to kiss her in public, it shows a lack of understanding. Even weirder, the fact that the only picture Sakura has of Sasuke is when he was a terrorist ninja. Yeah, that's it. The fact that Karin at one point thought that Sakura was not her mother. I mean, that speaks of how unhealthy their relationship is by default. And Sakura can't really say anything. I always felt that Sasuke and Karin was the better argument because not only does that couple work, you could even still have Sarada in the Leaf Village. The fact that Sasuke would like Sarada to grow up in the Leaf Village where she'd be safe from Orochimaru. Why isn't Orochimaru still a villain anymore? Just saying, whatever. Even weirder was how insulting the movie was for sort of pushing all these ships together. Sasuke and Sakura like low-key a couple, Naruto and Naruto like low-key flirting, and then Sakura has the gall to sort of rewrite history. Actually, the entire movie wants to rewrite Naruto history. Alright, Sakura telling Naruto, like, the only reason you liked me was because I liked Sasuke, and Sasuke's your rival. I'm like, well, no, that doesn't make sense at all. Because by that logic, you should have picked Ino, who was the more popular girl, and also arguably better looking than you, especially later on. Like, I love Sakura, but damn, Anyway, moving on. It just doesn't work. And even then, with Naruto and Hinata, it decides to rewrite history again to imply that Hinata was Naruto's friend that he forgot about. If you know Naruto for anything longer than 10 minutes, you will realize that it's impossible for him to forget a friend he had, since his entire life has been defined by eternal crippling loneliness. Alright? So there's no way he would forget a friend. So no, that's rewriting the story. And I don't care if there are other materials like the novels that come out and say, well, this explains it better. Like, I don't care. I barely put up with that with Star Wars, and that's because I've at least enjoyed the books, but I've barely enjoyed the last half of Shippuden because it sort of echoed the problems a lot of shonen series have, which is you can just draw it out, draw it out, draw it out. Looking at you, One Piece. But no, I am not going to do it for Naruto. Alright, Ino and Sai is just as bad because Ino, I can make an argument why Ino did not choose Choji, which I thought would have been the smarter pick. Alright, the argument being that Ino has spent pretty much her entire life with Shikamaru and Choji. They're her best friends, and Sakura is like equally her best friend. Alright, the idea that Ino, after spending all that time with Shikamaru and Choji, could pick one of them over the other. And because that's what it would be. That's what it would be ultimately. That if Ino married Choji, Choji would then take precedent over Shikamaru. Alright, whether she would intend it to or not. And Ino can't do that. She can't make that decision. Sai is a bad choice because Sai has not been a character since the Tenshu Bridge mission. That's kind of it. Alright? Ever since then, he just serves give weird emotional exposition to move the plot along. Even his little moment during the Great Ninja War didn't matter. Just did. Alright? Choji and Kaori? Who wanted Kaori back to begin with? I don't even really care. But how did this happen? And I want to know why, but I don't want to know why. So it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. This is way less offensive than the coupling that the ships in Bleach that happen. Like Ichigo and Orihime, yeah, it's lazy, but whatever. Ruki and Renji, well, it's lazy, but whatever. It's whatever. And the difference is because Bleach did not constantly build up these relationship dynamics in the same way that Naruto did. Naruto's series really hammered home the concept of these characters having romantic feelings for each other, especially in the filler arcs. For example, Naruto and Sakura, there's a filler episode where Naruto actually talks about why he loves Sakura. It's a really great episode and everything that I wanted to hear. But the series later on says, well, Sakura, don't you know that Naruto loves you? And the really controversial moment at the Kage Summit meeting when Sakura tells Naruto that she loves him and that she's done with Sasuke, Naruto says she's lying. The trick is, we never knew what she was lying about. She says two things. Alright, that she loves Naruto and that she's done with Sasuke. One of these things can be a lie, the other one can be true. We know she's not done with Sasuke. Alright, we know she definitely has not been able to stop caring about him. So that has to be the lie. Alright, she could still say she loves Naruto. Because the series seemed to be building up that idea during the whole three-tailed arc with, the first time we go find Sasuke. It's just, nothing about the ships in Naruto, minus Shikamaru and Temari, really work or make much narrative sense. What happened was every female got exactly what they wanted. And people have used it as an argument to say Kishimoto can't write women. I would say the problem is he doesn't know, he can write women, but let's be clear, he can really only write two characters, Naruto and Sasuke. And if he rolls the dice really good, he can write a good Shikamaru. Alright? But he really only wrote for two characters, because honestly, Shikamaru's arc should have been Sakura's. But there was no way to give Sakura that arc without totally dumping on Tsunade. So, whatever. the story of Naruto should have been about 3 characters, instead it was about 2. Anyway, we've started dissecting Naruto in a way we weren't supposed to, as we talk about all my least favorite ships, and this is kind of it: Arnold and Helga, Matt and Sora, Ray and Kylo Ren, Batman and Talia, Superman and Wonder Woman, Korra and Mako, Sangha and Moroku, and all of Naruto. We're not even going to say minus Shikamaru, because some days even that works my nerves. Anyway, with that in mind, we're going to bring this video to close here. If you're new to the bug, thank you for the like, comment, share, subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. What's your least favorite ship? Can I guess if some of it's Harry and Ginny? Ron and Hermione? John and Daenerys? The 13th Doctor? And anyone? Leave that down in the comment section. I will catch you all later. This is Bug and Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.